Are you sure your cat sees you as human? It sounds like a strange question, but it touches something most cat owners never stop to question. We live with cats and naturally assume they know exactly what we are: their owner, their caregiver, a human. But in a cat's world, that label may not be the part that matters most. The real question is this: who are you in your cat's lived experience? Because behind the small behaviors we tend to overlook, your cat may be revealing something much deeper. It may not see you as just the person who shares the house, fills the bowl, or walks through the same rooms every day. It may be responding to you in a way that is far more personal, far more emotional, and far easier to miss than most people realize. In this video, we will explore 7 signs that, in your cat's eyes, you are much more than the one who feeds them or simply happens to be there. You may hold a far more special place in their world than you ever imagined. We are going to start with the signs that are easiest to notice, then move into the deeper and more surprising layers of how cats respond to the people they bond with. First, your cat is not bonded to you because it mistakes you for another cat. People love to joke that cats see humans as giant, clumsy cats who somehow know how to open cans. It is a funny image, but it does not really explain what is happening inside the relationship. What is far more interesting is this: a cat does not need to believe you are the same species in order to form a real emotional bond with you. In a 2019 study published in Current Biology, researchers found that many cats showed what is called secure attachment to their caregivers. In simple terms, when that trusted person was nearby, the cats were more willing to explore. When they were separated and then reunited, their behavior suggested that the caregiver was not just familiar, but emotionally important. That changes the way we should think about a cat's affection. Your cat is not loving you because it is confused about what you are. It is bonding with you because, in its daily life, you have become a stable presence, a predictable one, a being that can shape whether the world feels calm or uncertain. And for an animal as sensitive and self-protective as a cat, that kind of trust is not small. It is powerful. This is also why so many people misunderstand cats. They expect attachment to look dramatic. They expect obvious excitement, constant closeness, or needy behavior. But cats often show connection in quieter ways. They relax more deeply when you are near. They move through the house differently when they know where you are. They recover faster from uncertainty when your presence remains calm and familiar. So the real message is not that your cat sees you as another cat. It is that your cat may see you as someone reliable enough to build part of its emotional world around. And if you want to strengthen that bond, the goal is not just more petting or more treats. What matters even more is consistency. The way you approach, the way you speak, the way you respect your cat's limits instead of forcing closeness before it is ready. Because trust with a cat is rarely built through intensity. It is built through repetition, safety, and the feeling that being near you does not come with pressure. Second, your cat recognizes your voice as something personal. When your cat reacts to you speaking, it is not just responding to a familiar sound in the background. It may be responding to you as an individual. Research has shown that cats can tell their owner's voice apart from the voices of strangers. And even more interesting, cats tend to respond more clearly when their own person speaks to them in a cat-directed voice than when a stranger uses the exact same tone. That matters because it suggests your cat is not only hearing sound, it is identifying the source of that sound. It knows that this voice belongs to someone specific. That may not sound dramatic at first, but if you think about it, it is deeply intimate. Your voice becomes part of how your cat maps its world. It is one of the signals that tells your cat who is near, what kind of interaction might happen next, and whether this moment feels familiar or uncertain. Long before your cat decides whether to come closer, stay where it is, or flick its tail and walk away, it may already have recognized you from a single sentence. And that helps explain something many cat owners misread. A cat does not have to come running every time you speak in order for your voice to matter. Cats are not always expressive in ways humans instantly recognize. Sometimes recognition looks very subtle. An ear turns, a body softens, the eyes shift toward you for half a second. The cat stays in the room instead of leaving. These are easy signs to miss, but they can reveal that your voice is already doing its job. It is telling your cat that someone known is here. This is also why tone matters so much. Cats are extremely sensitive to rhythm, volume, and emotional energy. A steady, gentle voice can make you feel easier to predict. A loud, abrupt one can make even a bonded cat pause. So, if you want your cat to feel more connected to you, do not just speak more. Speak in a way that feels consistent, calm, familiar, safe to listen to. Because to your cat, your voice is not just noise in the house. It is part of your identity. And over time, it becomes one of the ways your cat learns the difference between your presence and everyone else's. Third, your cat learns the repeated signals that surround you and the life you share. A lot of people still assume cats do not really understand words, but that idea misses something important. Cats may not process language the way humans do, yet research suggests they can distinguish their own names from other words, and in some situations, they can even connect names with familiar individuals. That tells us something bigger than simple word recognition. Your cat is learning patterns. It is paying attention to what sounds tend to come before certain experiences. The tone you use before mealtime. The phrase you repeat before opening a door. The soft voice you use when you are trying to reassure it. Over time, these repeated cues stop being random noise. They become part of a system your cat uses to make sense of daily life. And this is where your relationship becomes even more personal. Because your cat is not only learning what certain sounds mean, it is also learning what those sounds mean when they come from you. The same word can feel different depending on who says it, how they say it, and what usually follows. That is why a cat may ignore one person calling its name and still react to another. Not because it is stubborn in some dramatic way, but because it has learned which voice, which rhythm, and which moments carry meaning. This tells us that your cat is not living from one instant to the next in a blank, disconnected way. It is building associations all the time. It is reading routines. It is noticing sequences. It is remembering what tends to happen before comfort, before play, before food, and before stress. And because you are at the center of so many of those repeated moments, you become one of the main reference points in how your cat understands its world. That is also why consistency matters so much more than people think. When you use the same name, the same warm tone, and the same gentle patterns around positive experiences, you make yourself easier for your cat to understand. You become clearer, more predictable, more trustworthy. And for a cat, predictability is not boring. Predictability is comforting. So if your cat seems to respond to certain phrases, certain routines, or even the sound of your footsteps before anything visible has happened, do not dismiss it. Your cat may be showing you that it has been studying the shared language of your life together for much longer than you realized. If this is already making you see your cat in a completely different light, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Because from here, we move into something even more subtle. Signs that your cat is not just recognizing you, but actively adjusting the way it communicates and behaves when you are near. And if you want to strengthen that connection, be consistent with your cat's name and tie it to positive experiences. For cats, meaning is rarely carried by words alone. It lives in tone, timing, and the emotional pattern wrapped around them. Fourth, when your cat gives you a slow blink, it is not just being cute, it is communicating. For a long time, people treated the slow blink as one of those sweet little mysteries of cat behavior. Adorable, yes, but hard to explain. What made it more meaningful was research suggesting that when humans slow blink at cats, many cats respond with the same relaxed eye movement and are even more likely to approach afterward. That tells us this is not just a random facial expression. It is part of a social exchange. And what makes that so powerful is how vulnerable the gesture really is. A cat does not soften its eyes when it feels the need to stay guarded. It does not half close its eyes in a state of tension, readiness, or defense. The slow blink happens when the body is softer, the mind is quieter, and the moment feels safe enough for the cat to loosen its vigilance, even briefly. So when your cat slow blinks at you, it may be saying something very simple and very profound at the same time. I do not feel threatened by you. I can let my guard down here. That is a big deal in the emotional world of a cat. Cats are animals that survive by reading risk quickly. Their bodies are built for alertness. Their instincts are built for caution. So any gesture that signals comfort instead of caution carries weight. And that is why a slow blink can feel so moving once you understand it. It is not dramatic affection. It is trust in its gentlest form. It also reminds us that connection with cats often happens in the smallest spaces. Not in loud displays. Not always in cuddling. Sometimes it happens in one quiet look across the room. One softening of the eyes. One moment where your cat chooses calm instead of distance. And if you want to respond well, the best thing you can do is meet that softness with softness. Instead of staring, soften your face. Blink slowly. Keep your body still and relaxed. Let your cat feel that there is no pressure in the interaction. For many cats, that kind of gentle, respectful communication feels far safer than reaching out too quickly with your hands. Because in that moment, your cat is not just looking at you. It is showing you what trust looks like in its own language. Fifth, your cat may still be tracking you even when you are nowhere in sight. This is one of the most fascinating parts of living with a cat, because it reveals something many people never notice. Your cat does not only respond to you when you are standing right in front of it. In some cases, cats appear surprised when their owner's voice comes from a place that does not match where they seem to expect that person to be. That suggests something deeper than simple hearing. It suggests your cat may be keeping a quiet mental sense of where you are. And once you start noticing that, so many small behaviors begin to look different. The ears turn when your footsteps pass the hallway. The body shifts slightly when a familiar door opens. A resting cat lifts its head for just a moment, then settles again after confirming that it is you. Sometimes your cat does not come toward you at all, and that is exactly why these moments are easy to underestimate. But attention does not always look like movement. Sometimes attention looks like monitoring, like keeping track, like knowing that someone important is moving through the shared space. This matters because it shows that your presence is not only meaningful during direct interaction. Your cat may be factoring you into its awareness all the time, even from across the house, even from another room, even while pretending to be asleep. In a way, you are part of the background structure of its day. Not background as in unimportant, but background as in constant, known, worth keeping track of. And that gives us a more honest picture of feline attachment. A cat does not have to follow you from room to care where you are. Some cats are physically affectionate, Others are far more subtle. They may stay in place and still remain tuned in to your routines, your location, and the tiny sounds that signal what you are doing next. That kind of quiet awareness may not look dramatic, but it can still be a form of closeness. So if your cat seems calm, but keeps flicking an ear toward your voice, or changes its state when you move through the home, do not assume nothing is happening. Your cat may be showing you that even when you are out of sight, you are not out of mind. And if you want to understand your cat more clearly, try looking beyond clinginess. Affection in cats is not always measured by how closely they stay beside you. Sometimes it is measured by how deeply you are woven into their sense of the home they live in. Sixth, your cat may be reading your emotional state more closely than you realize. This helps explain one of the most confusing experiences for cat owners. On some days, your cat seems open, soft, and easy to approach. On other days, it keeps more distance, watches quietly, or disappears into another room. It can feel unpredictable, even personal. But sometimes the change is not really about your cat changing. It is about your emotional state changing, and your cat noticing before you do. Research suggests that cats can use both visual and auditory cues to tell the difference between emotional expressions in humans. In other words, your cat may not understand the reason you are stressed, but it can still pick up on the fact that your face is tighter, your movements are sharper, your voice is different, and the emotional atmosphere around you has shifted. And for a cat, that shift matters. Cats are incredibly sensitive to tension in their environment. They are always reading for changes in energy, pace, and predictability. So when you are rushing, irritated, loud, or unsettled, your cat may respond by creating a little more space. Not as a punishment, not because it suddenly stopped caring, but because distance can be a way of staying regulated when the emotional tone of the room no longer feels easy to read. That is why a cat may hover nearby without coming close, why it may watch you from a doorway instead of jumping onto your lap, why it may return only after your breathing slows, your voice softens, and the home feels calm again. These are not cold decisions. They are often deeply intelligent ones. Your cat is adjusting to the emotional weather around it. And once you understand that, something important changes in the relationship. You stop interpreting every bit of distance as rejection. You begin to see that sometimes your cat is not withdrawing from you. It is responding honestly to the state you are in. In a strange and quiet way, that can be a form of connection too. Your cat is telling you that your presence affects it, that your energy enters the shared space between you, that who you are in a moment matters just as much as what you do. So if your cat suddenly feels more distant, do not rush to label it aloof or uncaring. Pause for a second and look at the emotional atmosphere you are bringing into the room. Are you moving too fast? Speaking too sharply? Carrying stress in your body without realizing it? Because sometimes the fastest way to help a cat come closer is not to reach for it. It is to soften first. Seventh, in your cat's eyes, you may be the place it uses to locate its sense of ease. So after all of these signs, what is the closest answer? Maybe your cat does not see you simply as a human, and maybe it does not see you as another cat either. What it may be forming instead is something more personal than either label. A living reference point. A presence it uses to judge whether this moment feels familiar, whether this space feels calm, whether the world around it still makes sense. That would explain so much. It would explain why an independent cat can still relax more deeply when you are home, why your voice can change the mood of a room for it, why your routines matter, why your emotional state matters, why your quiet presence can sometimes do more than petting ever could. Your cat does not need to cling to you every second, to be bonded to you. If it softens when you are there, if it pays attention to your signals, if it adjusts itself around your presence, that already says something powerful. It says that you matter to the way your cat experiences life. And maybe that is the most beautiful part of all. Because cats do not hand out trust carelessly. They are observant, careful, often slow to open. So when a cat begins to treat you as part of what makes life feel steady, that is not small affection. That is deep acceptance. It means your cat has made room for you inside its inner map of comfort, rhythm, and security. That is why trying to force love from a cat usually misses the point. Real connection with a cat is rarely loud. It is rarely constant. It is built in the soft moments. The moments when your cat stays instead of leaving. The moments when its body loosens around you. The moments when it chooses your presence as something to settle into, not something to guard against. So, maybe the question was never whether your cat sees you as human. Maybe the better question is this: has your cat made you part of what feels safe, familiar, and worth trusting? And if the answer is yes, then you may already hold one of the most meaningful places a cat can give. So the most beautiful truth may not be which category your cat places you in by human definitions. It may be something much more moving than that. In your cat's private world, you may have become a presence with real emotional weight. Not loud, not dramatic, but strong enough that your voice can matter. Your eyes can soften the moment. Your presence can change the feeling of the room. And when an animal known for being cautious, selective, and hard to win over gives you that kind of place in its world, that may be one of the most beautiful forms of trust we ever get to receive. If you have ever had a moment that made you realize your cat trusted you more than you thought, share it in the comments. And if this video helped you see your cat in a new way, subscribe to the channel. Because the more you understand cats, the more you begin to realize that their smallest behaviors often carry their deepest feelings.